Alright, today this session is about setting up the Cura for the first time. And if you have not set up the Cura, you can go online to YouTube and look for help to set up for you. So basically, you should be able to see this Anycubic preset printer here. There is a generic PLA. The materials that we are using are all PLA, which is less toxic to human, and the normal printing is 0.2 mm. Alright, so to print an object of 1 mm thick, you need to print 5 layers actually. So the infill, normally we won't go up to 100%. Even the industrial standard, they will keep it to maybe 20%. So support, if there is a need for support, you might need it for extensions of hands or such things. We will talk about them later if we have a chance. Alright, so you might want to customize your other profile, the properties as it goes on, but at the moment we just keep to the minimum here, okay? Alright, so once you're finished, what we do is to just import one of the file that we previously did, okay, for this student called Samuel Chi. Okay, let's go and take a look at downloads. Okay, so just now this sample student Samuel Chi, I will double click on him and the ruler will be in. So once the ruler is in, you can see the dimension, the file name, and you can just zoom straight in. If you cannot see the ruler, you can press shift and use the right key to move it up. You realize that it should be nicely laid on the floor. Once I click onto this ruler, you realize I can move it up, down, left, right. Of course, I can also rotate it around. Rotate it is the same, almost the same as a Tinkercad. So the X, Y, Z, they have different color. So use the right color and to pull it around. Alright, you can also press shift to pull it around, or command. Alright, so once you pull it around, you realize that it's easier to see. So you can zoom in more to see the details before you print, to make sure that there's no error, okay, before you print. So this is just to flip it around. This is to make more model. Example, let's say I want to create more of this rather than to print it one at a time. I can select this and just click on this. So, this is the meshing. Alright, so for overlaps and things like that, but this is not so important. If you want to create more, you can always press Command C. You can multiply, select model. If I want more of it, I can create, maybe let's say I want 3 more copies. Alright, so create for me, so I can print 4 of them one shot rather than do it one at a time. Alright, so let me just delete them away. So that we can start to do the slicing of the 3D model. Alright, so this remember that whether you will have a skirt to print before you print the exact thing, or you just want to keep it this way. So most of the time we will have a normal printing, there will be a skirt of some sort. So example, let's take a look at just all this quality for 0.2. So if you want it to be of a finer quality, then maybe you can reduce this to 0.1 mm. If you want it to be just a draft and see how it look like, want to save time, you can increase it to 0.3 or even 0.4. If it is too high, then you will not be able to see it. Okay, it's in red color. 0.8 definitely too high. How about 0.4? 0.4 is also too high. So 0.3 is just okay. So it's either from 0.1, 0.2 or 0.3. Alright, so the shell thickness, they are quite self-explanatory, but when you play around with all this, try not to change too many components at one shot. Just do it one at a time. This is the infill pattern that you might want to try as you print to see how is it printing. The material printing temperature has been set for you. The build plate temperature is 60 degrees. So this is the extruder temperatures at 200 degrees Celsius. The speed is 50 mm. Of course, you can always increase the speed if you want. If you think that you want to finish it faster, 80 mm per second, there's a limit to where you can go. So if 100 mm per second is still possible, so it's like 10 cm per second. 1 second it can go to 10. Alright, so 200 will be too big. So if you want it to be fine, of course you can go lower to 40 or even 20, but they'll be very slow for your printout. So normally we just put it around 50 to 80. Alright, so just to be as return it back to the usual. Okay, enable retraction and Z hop are the things that it would help to sometimes when you're printing two objects that are slightly further apart, so you might see strands of like spider web across two of them. So this is try just on both of them to reduce the problem. Okay, cooling, how is it going to cool? Just make sure the fan speed is 100% and enable print cooling. Support, generate support when you need. Now we don't need to have support. So build plate adhesion, we are using a skirt. That means, let's say I'm printing a circle. You will see that outside of this circle, they will print something like a border around it before you start printing. The good thing about this is that you can start to excrete the filament first, so that you know that okay, it's coming out. Rather than once you start printing, if your filament is not coming out properly, then it might not be so nice. Alright, so a skirt normally is what you can use. Dual extrusion, we are not using it because ours is a single extrusion 3D printer. Alright, so once we have finished, what we do is we will slice this ruler. It's a very simple process. Just click on slice. After slicing, it will tell you that this takes 15 minutes to print, and it requires around 3 grams of filament, which is around 1 meter, 1.01 meter. Alright, so if you are not in the row of 1 kilogram filament, you can just cut off maybe 1 to 2 meter of your filament and start putting it into the 3D printer. Alright, so after this you need to save to file. If you want to see how it looks like, you can click on the preview. So they will show you that this is the skirt that will start to print first. Alright, then after that it will look something like this, which is totally quite different from how it looks like just now, right? Yeah. So this is how it looks like, your preview. You can monitor the movement, the printing if you want to once it start printing, but we are not linking this to the ruler, to the computer. Okay, so this is how it looks like, very nice, but once you print it will look something like this. Alright, so we save it to a file which we will later transfer out. So let's save this to our download 3D printing, and you realize that it's a Gcode now. Alright, so I3M, any cubic I3. Okay, so we'll delete this forward. If you want just to put your name for easier reference, else I will always put something like 0 in front for easier for me to find. Alright, so when there are a lot of files in a SD card, you might find that it's harder to find. So let's just put Samuel Chi ruler. Alright, yeah, Samuel Chi ruler. Then after that I will click save. Alright, so once the file is saved, I can bring it to the 3D printer for printing. Alright, so that will be our next session lesson. Thank you very much for your attention.